Hello, everybody. Today we have Wajid Hassan. We talk on some awesome metaphysics, spirituality, a broader thinking of life. I learned a lot because I tell Wajid during it. I've been trying to grasp this game is bigger than just what we perceive on this earth, and there's a little more to this game, and that's where the spirituality and metaphysics come in, and he helps me out with a few questions I have. So it's quite fun, quite intriguing, definitely going to get you thinking. And if you like what you're hearing, please feel free to rate and review this. If you rate this on iTunes, I actually have a thing on my website, Good, Bad, or Ugly. It will post your review on the website, and you'll be forever memorialized as that guy that said that thing. So do that thing. Other than that, let's have some fun and let's go.
Welcome to the Josh Bolton Show, where we dive into interesting and inspiring conversations. And now, your host, Josh Bolton.
Hello, welcome everybody. We have an awesome guest. We're going to go into some really fun topics and definitely going to get you thinking. Wajid Hassan, he'll correct me later if I said that wrong. Awesome dude. He told me he's stationed out in North Carolina, and it sounds like they're going to get some snow. So take it away.
Hey, Josh. Thanks for having me on your show. It's a pleasure.
Thank you. So yeah, like I was saying, your area and you're something going to get some snow. Tell us a little about yourself and what you do.
Well, just to give you a little background information on myself. I was born in Pakistan many moons ago, and then my parents, they moved to England when I was 3 years old, and I lived in the north of England till the age of 10. Then we moved to London and got my formal education in England, and then got into the technical field and got into computer repair, became a field service engineer for a large company in England. And then from there, I was kind of losing my tan, turning white in England. So I moved to sunny California, and then continued my technical career there, working for TRW at the Computer Maintenance Division. And then around 1997, my own spiritual master, an Englishman by the name of Dr. George King, he passed away, and I kind of got into a bit of a depression. And my wife at the time, she said, well, you used to do, you stood up in front of the school when you were 15 and made people laugh. Why don't you do some little comedy to try to get you out of your rut? So I took some stand-up comedy lessons and found out that I was still funny, and started hitting the open mics, the Laugh Factory, Comedy Store, Improv, and was quite happy with that. And at that time, I had a little computer repair shop in Hollywood near Sunset and Highland. And this lady walked in. I fixed her computer, and she kept looking at me. And I was asked. I finally looked at her. I said, "Why do you keep looking at me?" She said, "Well, you have an interesting face." I said, "So?" She said, "Well, I'm a casting director." So I didn't know what a casting director was. She said, "Well, let's see if we can get you an agent." So I guess I was kind of discovered at my little computer store in Hollywood, and she got me an agent. And then next thing you know, I started booking commercials. I booked my first commercial with Nike in 1999. And then from there, I started, I got a theatrical agent, started getting parts in, movies and TV. And so I let go of at that time also, companies like Circuit City and Best Buy, they were eating up all the little computer repair shops. So I kind of left that and started doing that, which I did for over 20 years as a union actor. But always in the background, you have to pay your bills, and you got to, you have a living. But always in the background, I always had an interest in spirituality, metaphysics, New Age concepts. And so I didn't promote that as such till August of 2020, when I managed to publish my book on Amazon called The Struggle for World Sanity.
That's awesome. So I heard some of your episodes. Tell us a little more about your yogi that started you on this.
Yeah. I was, when I was in England, of course, I was raised I was born as a Muslim, raised in a Muslim background. So I went to the mosque and did the Arabic prayers and read the Quran. But at the same time, I was also going to Church of England schools where there was Bible study and hymns and carols, and so I got the best of both worlds, both in Islam and Christianity. And even at that young age, I was just as comfortable being in a church as I was in a mosque. And today, I'm just as comfortable being in a synagogue as I am in a Hindu temple. So for me, these were just different aspects of religions, which all pointed to the same teachings of being good, and they were just given in different times, different cultures, different ages, but they all pretty much say the same thing. So it was around 16 that I met my own yogi master, Dr. George King. It's really funny, Josh, because usually most people, they search for a yogi master, they go to India, and most people in the West, and they'll try to look for a teacher or somebody there. And mine was completely different. I found a Western yogi master, and somebody being from the East, so it was very different. And he didn't have a beard and a turban and a loincloth, but he had a suit and tie on. So it was a completely different relationship. But for me, I wrote in my book some of the experiences I had with him. I believe that he was a great master who revealed a lot of truth, which right now has not been revealed and to the masses in the media. So I felt that it was important, now that he's passed away, that I spread some of his teachings, and people are very open to some of the stuff that I've been saying.
Oh, definitely. I had a guy come on earlier, and he's a coach, but he's more mindset. But he said the weird thing about mindset, he's like, it's actually more deeper than we give it credit, because he's like, it's more on a spiritual level that we're teaching, but people don't like saying that because they're like, ooh, hippy dippy stuff, we're gonna get in trouble and lose customers, kind of thing. But he's like, actually, I've gotten more because I'm standing my ground. So I'm curious for you, for your journey. What are you seeing, especially with, like you said, the publishing during 2020, where people are going with this? Are they open?
Yeah, like I said, pretty much the response has been very open-minded. I think people are more open-minded now than they were in the 50s and 60s when my yogi master was alive. At that time, they laughed at him and made fun of him when he talked about UFOs and life on other planets and the history of mankind. But now people are, they have more education, science-wise, about the cosmos, different aspects of, planets, and people are delving into quantum physics and realizing that yes, we are energy, everything is energy, and there are different dimensions, the possibility of parallel universes. I mean, all these things are coming to the forefront now, so people are not as ignorant to metaphysics and New Age teachings as they were in the past. So the response has been good, and it was really interesting that I published the book right in the start of the pandemic, and it wasn't meant to be that way. But coming back to what you said about spirituality, I believe that we're not physical beings. We're actually spiritual beings inhabiting a physical body, which we use for a little while. I believe that reincarnation is a fact, and we come here to learn certain experiences, and we go to other realms. Then we come back and continue to learn over different lives. And so the reason for writing the book is that, today we're kind of on a crossroads. People, there's a lot of fear, there's a lot of anxiety, there's a lot of depression going around, not only just because of the pandemic, but also, we've regressed to the point where there's endless wars and a political system worldwide, not just in this country, but worldwide, that's just, divided between left and right. We've got an economic system right now that favors the billionaires, and the rest are just kind of slaves to the system. We got pollution going on. We got people in social media attacking each other. And so it's just a kind of a mess right now. And so part of the book was to like give your listeners a kind of a light at the end of the tunnel, to let them know that what's being prophesied by the prophets of old and the prophets of new is that, in the centuries to come, the situations on this planet are not going to be like they are. There is going to be a new dawning of a new age of peace and enlightenment, which not might, but will come to planet Earth.
Oh, yeah, 100%. So I want to touch on something you said earlier, because this is actually one thing I've been kind of debating with myself, and I'm sure you're thinking on a similar level. How I explain to people is I think we are fourth dimensional creatures, but we can only perceive the world through the third dimension. But like through enlightenment or meditation or thinking and slowing your mind, you can actually tap into the fourth dimension almost on command.
Well, Dr. King said that the fourth dimension is actually time, but there are other dimensions. I would say realms of existence than dimensions.
Okay.
And I totally agree with you. And you hit on a point is, of why we're actually here. Dr. King said there's only one reason we're here, and you hit the nail on the head, and that's to go within. That's to go into high states of meditation and learn and become who we're supposed to be, and that is enlightened beings. Now, one thing a yogi master like my master and other masters can do is that he was able to project physically from his body, astrally project from his body in full consciousness. And he went to these other realms. He said there were 6 realms above us and 4 realms below us. And he visited all these other realms. And so it's all inherent within us. It's just a case of time. Sometimes it can take a long, long time. Sometimes it's shorter, depending on, our experiences from our previous lives. But yeah, that is what we're supposed to be doing in these days. We're supposed to be raising our consciousness, and instead of regressing to the basic animalistic kind of savagery that we have on this planet right now, we need to start raising our vibrations and become the gods that we were at one time. We were highly advanced beings. Unfortunately, because of our own self-will and our own inactions and our own negative karma, we are in the situation that we are right now.
And, one thing that your yogi master touched on and that we kind of alluded to is I really do think an age of good is coming. I think so much negativity has come out of this pandemic so quickly that I feel it's kind of like a renaissance. We're like, this is enough. We don't need all this negativity anymore. It's like, yeah, if you want to crack your joke, that's nice, but you're not like, don't drag everyone down. I think that's more where we're going.
Well, the pandemic definitely, when people were at home, it made them think. And a lot of people quit their jobs, their menial jobs, and they were looking into something that they want to do. And so in a way, it was a good thing to do a little isolation and reflection. In other ways, it wasn't a good thing because we're social creatures. We're not supposed to be isolated and stuck at home. But it's it's not only the pandemic, but there's two other factors which your listeners may not be aware of that's also causing this mindset change. Okay. Or people call it, the Great Awakening, and it's a kind of a spiritual awakening. First of all, people need to realize astrologically, if they follow astrology, that we're now moving away from the Piscean age, and now we're in what's called the Aquarian age. Now, what the Aquarian age is the emanations, astrological emanations of the Aquarian age, is pushing mankind to think more globally, to think unification, to think service, to think of helping others, and changing that mindset from a self-centered mindset. So that's one aspect. Another aspect, which your listeners may not be aware of, is that this planet herself is a living, breathing entity, and that's what the climate change people don't get, is that they're talking about, controlling pollution and controlling the climate. But the X factor that they don't understand is that this Earth herself is a living, breathing entity, a goddess, which, we've been raping her of her resources over the centuries without giving anything back. So it's time for us to start thinking about this planet that has given us life. And she herself took on a tremendous amount of limitation by having us on her back. And she herself is also raising her vibrations. So a lot of the melting of the ice caps, the ionosphere being depleted, that's all part of this raising of her vibrations and consciousness. So there's more to climate change than the ICs. So with those two factors, that's pushing. We're kind of on a crossroads right now. I believe this is the beginning of the end of mankind, but in a positive way. I think the limitations and the hypnotized, control of the masses is slowly being broken, and people are starting to think for themselves, which is a good thing.
No, that's very good. That's exactly what I'm thinking too. I haven't really talked to anyone about it because there's not many I can talk like this on. But I see the same thing, and it's interesting. I've, especially with the global warming, how I've said it to people is I said, it sounds brutal because we're very selfish creatures, but I'm like, actually, global warming could be a great thing for the Earth. Might mean we as a species are gone, but it doesn't mean we're killing the Earth anymore. And I said, for the Earth, 1 million years, that's like 10 minutes for it. Give it 1 million years, everything will be back to normal. I said, heck, there might be like rat humans in the next round of evolution. We don't know, but the Earth won't be suffering.
Absolutely, I agree with you. And she's been told to raise her vibrations because she has been suffering, having to put up with mankind for the last 18 million years. But at the same time, we don't have to be frightened about global warming. We do have to be concerned about pollution.
Yes.
And, and also another thing that your listeners may not be aware of, but there's also not only physical pollution, but there's also a mental pollution going on right now around the mind belt of the planet, with the hatred and the divisions between races and religions and all that. Thoughts are real. And so what we need to do on a collective, again, is to transmute that negative energy into something positive. And so the call of action today is to spiritualize ourselves, is to send this tangible energy from the cosmos, from the sun. The yogis refer it to as pranic energy, and send it out, as a stream of white light. Just visualize it coming down as a stream of white light and going out from the palms of the hand and the heart center. People can stand in front of a mirror and just visualize white light, and it'll reflect back, and you can physically feel this energy around you, tingling of your fingers and your aura. So it's just like electricity, but on a different octave of frequency.
Mm-hmm.
And so the call of action today to get us out of this mess is, like you said, first of all, is to look inward, which is very important. But at the same time, this is the age of service. And it's not the age of, running to a monastery or, staying away from mankind. It's to be in amongst mankind, sending out the power, and at the same time, raising our vibrations. Now, you came back as far as global warming and the Mother Earth. It's not necessary for us. We can be part of this change. And one thing that we have to do is to raise our vibrations along with the Mother Earth. Now, if we don't, then we will not be, in the centuries to come, be able to live on this planet because of her vibrations. So if we don't conform to that vibration, what's been said is that we will be, after death, we will go to another planet and start our reincarnation cycle on this newer, younger world. So we're at a crossroads, and it's a choice that we all have to make individually and collectively.
So I'm just curious. I like how you presented that. Is we kind of like move to the next one, but like for the age of service, I'm definitely seeing that, where it's before as we would sit and pray. Now it's like we have to go out. But I'm curious, for in the age of service, are we allowed to essentially make a profit to keep living? Because we still have the old economic system. Bartering, I don't think it still is around, but it's not as predominant as it used to be. So like, do you think?
Yeah, I mean, we still have to live. We still have to earn a living. The economic system is what it is. Although the higher beings that contacted my yogi master, they said that the economic system of this planet is a cancer in the heart of spiritual man, because it keeps people down. It keeps people in debt. If you're in debt, you're always worried about paying the bills. You're always worried about the rent, car payments and all this stuff. So the call is not to dwell too much on the material things. I mean, work for what we need, not what we want. And, of course, we need a roof over our head. We need a car. We need some money in the bank. Those are basic necessities which we all need. Let's face it. Right. But from there's plenty of free time that we have. And it's not like you have to work 24 hours in a spiritual way, but just even, 20 minutes a day or 15 to 20 minutes a day sending out power. If we did that on a collective, we could transform this planet tomorrow. I belong to a group that does that on a daily basis. We send out the power. So people don't know how to send out the power of love or healing. They can join us online. It's called 12blessings.org. And, together we can send it out. But at the same time, you can also do it, depending, it doesn't matter what religion or belief that you have, so long as you have this desire. You can even be an atheist, but so long as you have this desire to serve, everybody, man, woman, and child, can send healing out to the planet, to the animals, to mankind. It's something that's not new. It's been done for centuries. It's just that people are just not using it enough. So it's a new form of, because, everything else has been tried. The wars don't work. The political system doesn't work. The economic system doesn't work. Even religions don't work because of the dogma that they've created by their elders to create wars and divisions based on religion. That hasn't worked. So now the call of action is a universal approach to realize that we're all one part of a human race. We're not just Americans or Chinese or Russians, but we are that's how the cosmic beings the channel through my master refer to us as, as mankind, not as any particular race or religion. And that's the mindset, again, that we have to open ourselves up to and conform to if we're going to save the planet and save ourselves.
And I think we will. It's definitely going to be a few more spits and spats and arguments before everyone unites. The one thing, now this is more of a negative energy, but do you think in this unification, like a one world order could come around?
Well, the one world order, it kind of sounds very sinister. And I don't like the one world order kind of thing, because it kind of reminds me of like dictatorship or control.
Yeah.
And so, I think a one world brotherhood.
No, that would work. I could get behind that.
Yeah, that sounds more kind of compassionate than a one world order, because the word order means like, hey, you do what we tell you. Otherwise, so that comes to another point. I still believe not only just on the physical realm, but on the realms that we are not aware of. I believe there is a battle going on between the forces of light and the forces of darkness, and the forces of darkness in these lower realms have had control of mankind for centuries, and now because of the raising of the Mother Earth, a lot of that control is being broken. And so we have inspiration is being sent to us now, more than ever before. So more than ever before, the energies that we invoke are going to be really powerful and can make a significant change in these last days of the old order, because the new order is going to be a greater enlightenment. Conditions that people, have nenever seen before. No wars, no hydrogen bombs, no pollution, not even any countries, just open land and sea. So that's our heritage. That's what we're destined for, and it's up to us whether we want to be part of that or we want to be taken off this planet and start our reincarnation cycle somewhere else. And that's what the higher beings are telling us at this time.
So I'm curious, from your journey, but also what your yogi in more detail said, what are some of the characteristics, I wouldn't say visuals, but more characteristics of these higher beings?
Well, he got, after the war, he went into meditation and yoga and practiced yoga for up to 10 hours a day.
Wow.
Not only just hatha yoga, but breathing exercises, mantra, raising the kundalini, mental exercises, to the point where he could go into cosmic consciousness, into deep meditation. It was then that he was contacted by these higher beings who I believe the so-called flying saucers or UFOs. And it was very interesting that when they contacted him in the 50s and 60s, there was a tremendous amount of UFO activity around the planet, because we started exploding the atom and hydrogen bombs. So there was a big concern that we actually did release. I mean, Russia exploded 1,000 nuclear warheads, as did America. And that fallout would have actually killed all of us. And I believe it was the intervention of these higher beings scientifically absorbing a lot of that radioactivity that saved us. So in regards to these beings, in my book, I have had some experiences with UFOs. I believe not only are they advanced physically, technology-wise, but also spiritually. I think they're a lot more advanced. And, in regards to where they come from, people, I agree with the scientists that if you went to Mars or Venus or Saturn, the idea of seeing life would probably be minimum. But, again, we come back to different dimensions, just as this planet has different dimensions, so do planets in this solar system and other planets around the galaxy have also higher dimensions. So Dr. King projected to these higher dimensions on Mars and Venus, and actually met with these cosmic masters who live on these planets on a higher vibrations. Now, he said if you went to Mars, you could be on Mars for like 200 years and not even notice that there was any advanced civilization living on there, because they're on a much higher level frequency. And if they didn't contact you, you won't even know it. So they exist on higher vibrations. Again, like I said, we can't even see the higher dimensions unless you're psychic or you're aware of these. And it's the same with them. He wrote a book in the early 60s called The 9 Freedoms, and in there he actually talked about visiting a spacecraft that comes into orbit of Earth, and he said that the beings he met were like 7 feet tall. They had they were humanoid, with they had hair down to their shoulders, cinnamon like tan skin, about 7 feet tall, and the men and women, they were all very very handsome and beautiful. So it goes against the idea of these little green men and aliens that seems to be in the norm. So again, that was a revelation. So if people want to do more research on that, they can read that book, The 9 Freedoms, which is available on Amazon.
9 Freedoms. I'm going to look that up. So one thing you've mentioned that I've had a few incidences where I've had a little too much THC. And honestly, one of the doses I took, it probably did kill me. It was like at least 1 gram of THC. I did like an edible. But it was one of those, and all the weird hallucinating. I took off like a rocket and I landed in this white box above a Milky Way as I'm looking down. And it's like a perfect silhouette of the Milky Way moving. And essentially, I heard this one voice. The best way to explain it for our rationale is it's the kindest man that expects nothing. He's the kind of man who would give you a cup of coffee and a blanket, expect nothing in return. And that voice pretty much told me, like, you have too much good to do in this world. You can't die yet. And then, sent me on my way back. As I'm going, I went through a beautiful, like, field of. The best way to explain it is like a neon, but like a neon with a pastel feel, like an abstract painting, and this beautiful bouncing woman going through the field. She says something to me. I don't remember what she said, but essentially the same thing. It's like, why are you here? You're not supposed to be here yet. And I head back. So I totally believe on the higher level of frequencies, just those two incidents. I'm like, it could have been the THC, but it's like, if done right and meditated and trained yourself correctly, you could have achieved that without drugs too.
You really hit a very valid point, because the drugs, they do actually put you in a high state of, but it's a forced state, and it could be very dangerous. And so, yes. I would definitely not use hallucinogenic.
Don't do it the way I did it.
No, because you're forcing the psychic centers, the higher psychic centers, to open, and you don't have any control. And so the safest way is to do what my yogi master did, and that's through yoga, through self-control, self-meditation, to the point where you have complete control of all your experiences. So then also drugs have side effects, and I like had a dopamine rush for that day for like 3 days afterwards. Right. And then it's a down. Yeah.
It's like, I felt like it wasn't like depressed, but I was like, wow, like what joy I did have. I spent it that day. I got to recover now.
Well, that's the problem with the drugs, is that they give you that high, and you have that high ecstasy, and then you come down, and then you don't know how to handle the down, and so it's a vicious cycle. So to any listeners, I would definitely not use drugs. It's very dangerous. And do the normal do it the natural way, which the yogis do, is to go within and do yoga, deep breathing, meditation, mantra, to the point where eventually you'll have your own mystical experiences. But don't force the issue. It can be very, very dangerous.
Essentially, in short, don't do what Josh did.
Well, yeah, I'm glad you're alive. I'm glad we're talking today.
Right.
Absolutely.
But especially with that experience, that's gotten me thinking. Now I was more safer and moderate, and I've tested like smaller doses, and now I don't even use it because it's the weirdest thing. That voice that I heard when I was really high, I know, I wouldn't say hear it on command, but I can hear it more frequently. So like certain like intuition kicking in.
Yeah, you're really on the ball there, Josh. I think you're a pretty advanced guy because, intuition is very important. We also have spirit guides. We have guides that kind of look after us. And so maybe it was your spirit guide when you were going through that experience that kind of said, "Hey, dude, knock it off," and
you're pushing your luck.
Yeah. So there are spirit guides that look after us, and we follow our intuition, we'll be safe. But yeah, just stay away from Ouija boards and drugs and all that stuff, trying to force ourselves into places where we have no understanding whatsoever.
Yeah, I would say, especially with Ouija boards, I've had an interesting story in high school with that. Essentially, a kid decided we're high schoolers. We don't know logic. We're like, oh, we're immortal kind of thing mindset. And he's like, I want to contact Hitler through the Ouija board. I'm like, that's a really dumb idea. That is a very evil entity, and you don't know who you're actually contacting.
Exactly. Dr. King said it's better to pitch a tent in the middle of a freeway than using a Ouija board.
Oh, that's good. I like that.
Because you don't know who's going to come through. You could get possessed.
Oh, he did. That was the scary part, and why I literally swore off Ouija boards. I did it once, but the lady, she was just messing with us and was moving it kind of thing. So it wasn't actually a spirit, and literally, but so the character, he was the kid was taken over, and slender kid, mesomorph is the small one, I believe, very thin framed, like no muscle, long hair. It's typical high school. I'm not cutting my hair, just mess with my parents kind of thing. And just a very happy-go-lucky personality. Now, with all that, after he said that, and this is back when it cost like 25 cents to send a text message. I'm like, dude, bad idea. Don't do it kind of thing. He shows up a couple days later. He was like gone for like 3 days, and suddenly he shows up. But he's all haggard. His shoulders are offset. His neck is twisted in an unnatural way. His back is hunched.
Wow.
And it was just one of those, I tapped him on my head, like we'll call him Jimmy. I'm like, Jimmy, you okay? And he turns and he's like, Jimmy's not here. I'm like, that ain't Jimmy.
Wow.
That's not Jimmy. And I'm like, all right, well, you can go on your way. Sorry, wrong person. And that's where my one buddy, he pulled me aside. He's like, what happened with Jimmy? I'm like, I think Hitler's in Jimmy now. Let's not talk to him.
Yeah. People, again, stay away from something you don't understand. And, there's different ways. I get contacted when I do my healing. I get contacted by spirit guides of the patients that I heal. And so that's a positive way of channeling, of connecting to people. And there's a positive way of doing mediumship. I have a friend of mine, him and his wife, they do that. And they, opening your mind up and going into a negative state and all that is very, 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 very dangerous place to be. So again, stick to yoga, stick to positive meditation, and you can't go wrong.
So I have actually, you touched on something that I've been talking to other guests about and I'm pretty sure you can actually just slam it home for me. So the spirit guide, what would be, okay, it's going to be a 2-part question. So for the spirit guide is, how do I determine it's a spirit guide or not? Like, is it like a visual? I see a certain wave pattern or light dizziness, or is it more like a familiar voice I've always heard through my life?
Again, it's, opening yourself to your intuition and again, discriminating between well, is it a spirit guide or is it somebody else? But for me, usually, I don't contact other people from other realms, but I sometimes allow them to contact me. And generally, I can see mentally, if I close my eyes, or even if I open my eyes, I can mentally see the picturization of the individual. And then there's a kind of a telepathic communication that occurs. I can pick up the thoughts of that individual. And so, that's usually what I get. And like I say, I usually get that when I do my healing. I'm not into mediumship myself. I'm not into contacting the other realms. I have no interest. There's more going on this realm anyway than contacting, the dearly departed. So, but at the same time, there's been moments in my life where I've had help. But there was this one incident in London. I was driving, and I was about to go on, I was about to drive out on an intersection, and this voice suddenly in my head said, "Brake." Just out of the blue, this voice said, "Brake." And so I pressed my brake. And at the same time, when I pressed my brake, this truck came right whizzing past me. And if I'd gone out on that intersection, that truck would have hit me and killed me. So these things kind of happen as well. So to your listeners, just stay open and follow your intuition, and follow something that if you get this feeling, well, I shouldn't really be doing this, or I'm not sure if I need to do, or some premonition that comes in that you feel uncomfortable about, then, just listen to that premonition. I haven't, I've made a lot of mistakes in my life because I didn't listen to my intuition. So, that's okay as well. And again, it's just like riding a bike. You just have to keep yourself open to it. It takes time to train that intuition, that inner voice that tells you, what's right or what's wrong.
Interesting. So, okay, you touched on something, but I'm just going to ask the question anyways, is the mediumship. That's another one especially when I was younger, long story, would take a while to explain. Essentially, I was on some really heavy pharmaceuticals that could have been classified as I should have been in an insane asylum. So I was definitely seeing some stuff. But the weird thing is I always was able to see kind of like more like, well, you're in California, you would know what I'm talking about. The heat waves on a really hot California day, you literally see them in front of you rising. Yeah. I could kind of see that, but a general like outline of a human. And I'll just be like, oh, okay, it's whatever. And especially with the heavy drugs, I would say like I'd get a little dizzy, and randomly as I'm ordering Taco Bell, a Ronin samurai would jump over the counter, but I saw it so many times, I'm like, whatever kind of thing.
Right. Yeah.
But it's one of those, I went to Idaho to help my aunt. This is where I just saw this man like pretty clear. Like you could actually tell it was like a human. When you got close, it got more transparent, but it was like, huh. Mm-hmm. And it was just, so I'm talking, I'm like, hey, why are you like walking in circles? And I had a soda. I like offered. I kind of got a hint when I got close that he's not actually going to be able to drink the soda, but like the gesture, like here's a soda. And it was just one of those, he just clear as day pretty much said, oh, I'm looking for my friend. He died out here. And I'm like, oh, okay, well, I'm a little late in the timeline, so I don't know where he would have passed, but I'm like, I'm willing to help. And suddenly he just kind of like looks and says, you know what? Said, I think I can let him go. He's like, because I made a new friend. And then just kind of disappears. I turn and drink my like Dr. Pepper, and I saw my cousin. He's like, where did that man go that was right next to you? I'm like, I don't know, man. I don't know. I'm like, you saw him too. I wasn't crazy. He's like, no, I saw that.
Well, that again, first of all, yes, some medications can make people hallucinate, and what happens is that again, it affects their psychic centers, and then they again unconsciously can see into other realms and see other people. So hallucinations may not be actually termed as hallucinations. They may actually be seeing other people from other on different realms because of the effects of drugs or alcohol or even psych meds and stuff like that. They again they haven't done enough. See, they only talk about what the drugs do to the physical body. They don't know what the drugs do to the aura, to the astral body, to the psychic centers, and that has to be looked into as well. So again, that's proof just by your experience that there are other realms and other beings living there as well, and you had a living proof of that when you shared that with me. Absolutely.
Yeah, it was just one of those, like I told my cousin, I'm like, even back then I was, especially on the heavy stuff, I was not consistent. Like if we were chatting even just 3 years ago when I was still on it, you would be like, why did I come onto this show kind of thing. But now that I'm off it, and just with hindsight, even the little guy, afterwards we chatted, he's like, I always thought you were saying crazy things, but he's like, after that, he's like, I don't know. Maybe everything you've been saying is true.
Yeah, there's certain practices that you can do if you're getting into situations where you feel a kind of weird vibe, or you see something that makes you uncomfortable. One practice that the Cosmic Masters gave was the violet flame, where you can visualize a violet flame coming out from the Mother Earth as a kind of protective flame, this kind of velvety, beautiful energy that can go around you. It's a good practice to use if you're feeling that way as well.
Okay. Well, I want to say you've seen me and we've been chatting, so you wouldn't, but I've always had people always perceive me as intimidating. It's just my structure, my face. And, so I've never had a problem with people approaching me, but yeah, that incident on the farm where I'm like, I'm not sure if I should be thinking twice, but yeah, it's good to know. I'm gonna try to look into that too. Would that be under the 9 freedoms?
Yeah, you can. I think the practice of the violet flame was given. There's a little booklet that's published by my Yogi Masters organization called The Practices of Aetherius, and they can look into the website there and look into that. But that was a very close guarded secret back in Atlantean times, the practice of the violet flame. So that's been revealed. So it's a good way of protecting and spiritualizing yourself in these days, because you go on social media, all this psychic crowd of everybody putting down everybody, and all that needs to stop. It
really does.
People need to understand now that we're just pawns in the system. The division is it's a case of fear, divide and conquer, and we don't want to play into that anymore. We need to stop that rubbish.
100%. Well, I love everything we're doing. But I'm going to say we're getting near the end of our times. So I got 3 going out questions for you. So other than writing your book and work, what have you been doing to keep yourself busy during these COVID lockdown times?
I've been promoting the book. I've been going on Zoom meetings. I've been connecting with people. And just generally be of service. I volunteer to help. I do some volunteer work. There's 3 ways of giving. You can give to charity with money. You can do volunteer work. So I do some Zoom meetings where I volunteer to help certain individuals. And then, of course, the big thing. We can't all be doctors in a war zone, or we can't be in a hospital helping COVID patients. But one thing that we can do is we can send energy out to people in the war zones who are helping, to people in hospitals, and again, sending out that power, sending out that energy. So I do a lot of that in my spare time as well. So there's no shortage of this energy. It's just that we haven't been using it. And so, in my spare time, I go within and I do some prayers and meditation, be part of that 12 blessings group, and send out the power. So, and it's a win-win situation, Josh, because the more energy that you send out, if we understand the law of karma, action and reaction being opposite and equal. So we send out healing energy, we get healing energy back, which raises us. So, it's a good thing to do in these days.
It would also be like under like law of attraction too, where what you put out is what you get back, kind of thing. Oh no, sorry, I said that wrong.
Well, the law of attraction is okay, but the law of attraction is, a lot of people are hyping this. Well, if you think out to the universe, you'll get it. Not really. You have to work for it.
Right.
My accountant had a saying on his wall. He says, "I believe in luck." He says, "The harder I work, the more lucky I get." So you've got to work for it. That you can't just sit on your ass and expect the universe to suddenly manifest things to you. It just doesn't make sense. Doesn't make sense at all,
Very true. So the second one is someone aspiring to be like you on a higher level, higher thinking, just a good life too, it sounds like. What are some tips, tricks, or advice you give them to start down that path?
Wow, I've never had that question before. I think I've made many, many mistakes in my life. I think the spiritual path is one step forward, two steps back. It always seems to be a struggle. But the way of service is the call of action today. So if you can be of service in any way whatsoever to help your relatives, your family, your town, your country, the world, find ways of getting out of yourself, find ways of not thinking too much about your own world, and start thinking positively about the suffering of others. That'll be a great start to help you to have a life that's fulfilling, because a selfish, self-centered life is not really fulfilling. I've seen many rich people who have lots of material things and are very, very unhappy.
I would say I know some too. They'd give up their money just to have genuine joy and happiness again.
Yeah. So, I think there's genuine joy in, people look for happiness and through many other ways. And in the end, they become more miserable. So I think going within, and, finding a spiritual goal in your life, not so much a material goal. I mean, have the material things that you need, but find some kind of cause that you want to. And at the age of 16, I found this cause that I wanted to be part of a group that sends out power to the world and helps the world. So find something that you can do that will be of service to others, and that'll be a great start. And again, you can research the path that I'm in, the Ethereal Society, or you can do your own path. There's nobody forces you. You just have to find your own angle and your own inspiration. And it does come if you open yourself up to your intuition.
Very true. So where can everyone contact you at?
If they go to my website, which is wajidauthor.com, WAJIDAUTHOR.com, they can see some of my work. They can buy the book, and they can see. They can also link up to the organization that I belong to, the Ethereal Society, and the 12 Blessings organization, and also the 9 Freedoms. So it's all on the website.
Wonderful. Absolute honor and pleasure to have you on.
Well, thank you so much, Josh. It was really good, and I enjoyed the conversation because you seem very open on these matters, And so, it's good to have a host who's open-minded. So that was great.
I tried to be. It's the biggest thing I've learned in this journey in life, and is it's better to be open-minded than closed, because how I look at it, you'll miss opportunities to help, kind of thing.
Absolutely.
Well, congratulations. You made it to the end. You're an awesome person. Not many make it here. So, being the awesome person that you are, can you do me one more awesome favor? Can you rate and review this on whatever podcast services you're using? If you do it on Apple and you leave an actual written review, I have a thing on my website. I will take your written review and post it for all to see. Congratulations, you're permanently sealed on my site. Otherwise, I am trying to do YouTube more and live streaming. I will try to put as many of the YouTube links in the description of the show as I can. So give your boy some extra help over on YouTube. Watch my videos. I just mute it and change the channel, change the window or something. But yeah, that's it. Thank you for being awesome, and see you next time.